What's going on, guys? Welcome back here to another installment of Honest and Uneducated, the show where we talk about anything from movies, movie news, video games, comic books, collectibles, all sorts of good stuff like that. Joining me today is none other than Rick Metz himself. How you doing today, Rick?
Oh, hey, I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
That's good. I'm good. I'm good. You know, we had a lot of stuff drop here. Surprisingly, there's at least one. There's a couple good things that came out of the Comic Con at home. I was talking to John briefly before because unfortunately John's not able to join us for the entire show, but he did. Well, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, he was the lucky one of us who actually went to see the Snake Eyes movie. So he did record a little review that we'll go to here shortly, and you'll get his thoughts on the Snake Eyes movie, and then we will give our thoughts on it. Because I've heard honestly some pretty disappointing things about it.
Which is unfortunate.
It is unfortunate because the trailers actually looked pretty good.
I thought it looked good.
Like I thought they looked pretty decent.
I like Snake Eyes.
And Snake Eyes is cool. But, like, surprisingly, I haven't seen John's review yet, so I'm gonna be hearing what John has to say while you guys do, and what I've heard, I'm curious to see if he says anything that I've heard, because 'cause I've heard that Snake Eyes is just, like, a super unlikable character himself, and that,
Damn.
like, he's, like, kind of the villain of the story, which is kinda stupid. Like, I don't know, like,
Considering that it's Snake
yeah,
Eyes.
it's a Snake Eyes movie, he's supposed to be, like, the hero, and, like, I guess from just the way the plot lines up and his like, through his actions and stuff, he's kinda comes off as, like, a dick, and he's, like, the bad guy, and, like, Storm Shadow's, like, the good guy, like, on paper, and it's like, "This is kinda weird of
It's
you
kind of
know."
the
Yeah,
opposite.
it's like, "It's supposed to be a Snake Eyes movie, and you're making him out to be, like, so unlikable." It seems kinda counterproductive, so
Right.
I'm excited to see what John has to say about it to see if it's any different. So we'll play that here
It's
shortly.
definitely a very different take on the Snake Eyes character, but whatever.
Yeah, and then, like, I guess just in case, like I said, I haven't seen his review, so I just there might be spoilers in it. I really don't know. I just have it like queued up and ready to go here, which we'll get into shortly. So spoiler warning, maybe.
Well, like with my thing I
Like,
was telling you off camera with Snake Eyes. Snake Eyes, if you know the lore of it, it's always been this like super quiet, like guy that keeps to himself, like he does not talk. He's a ninja, you know? And in the storylines, like in the comics and stuff, he was actually a blonde haired guy with a bunch of scars on his face and just super mysterious. But in this movie, he's obviously not. So it's
well,
a
and
little
that's one
strange.
thing. This is kind of a brief spoiler because I know this is kind of a spoiler, but I was interested to find out that because it's just like you're saying, like the kind of true origin or lore behind the Snake Eyes character is like he can't talk. Like, he gets, like, severely scarred and he loses his vocal cords, so he never talks.
Yeah.
Apparently, that doesn't happen in the movie.
No.
So, like,
You could
going
tell that from
forward
the trailer. Like,
yeah, well, presumably, though, he doesn't really become Snake Eyes and get the gear supposedly, like, until the very end of the film, and you would think something would have happened, like a fight with Storm Shadow or something would have damaged his vocal cords and left him scarred or something, but apparently it doesn't even happen. So, come the end of the movie, you still just have, like, Henry Golding Snake Eyes who could just, like, show up and just
be
talk to
Henry
everybody in
Golding.
the next
Yeah.
like, in any
Has
other
like a sassy
installments.
personality and stuff.
Yeah.
And
And the other thing I found out that was interesting about it, which is also this is indeed a spoiler, um, like, G.I. Joe and Cobra have apparently, like, pre-existed in this world for, like, 10 years or something already. Like, prior to, like, Snake Eyes becoming Snake Eyes, like, G.I. Joe's already an established thing and Cobra's already an established thing, and I
I saw the Cobra logo in the trailer, but
well, yeah, and well, you know Cobra's in it because of some people that you see in the trailer and stuff, but, like, you think since this was like an origin movie that it would be kind of like
the
the
beginnings.
yeah, it'd be like the G.I. Joe, like, crew hasn't really formed, and neither has Cobra, and it's like the rise of all that stuff, but apparently it's not. So, really weird. Like I said, I haven't seen the movie, so I can't really comment on how it all plays out. It seems kind of disjointed, and, like, I also heard there's, like, a lot of, like, shaky cam, like, bullshit throughout all the fight scenes, which is, like, super annoying. But, yeah, I'm curious to see what John has to say. Other than that, though, we do have some stuff, mainly like one thing that's cool from Star Wars that dropped at Comic Con at home that we're going to take a look at and talk about. And then the Lucifer season 6 release date was dropped. Those are kind of the only two things I thought were cool about the Comic Con at home thing. And I was talking to John like briefly. Um, we both forgot that Comic Con at home was even happening this week.
Yeah.
I was so caught up in the sideshow con that I just didn't even Had no idea Comic-Con at home was going on. But judging by the looks of it, I do have, like, a breakdown and list of, like, all the things that have dropped at Comic-Con at home, so we'll take a look at that, and I skimmed through it before the show. It doesn't look like anybody's missed too much if you also forgot about it, but nevertheless, that is going on. So first, though, I guess before we get into our main topics and everything, since we were just talking about the Snake Eyes stuff, let's go ahead and we'll kick it over to Earth 2 John, and he can leave his review, and then we'll, talk about it from there after what he has to say.
Take it
Hey,
away,
hope
John.
everybody's having a good day. Sorry I couldn't be on the show today. I had some other stuff coming up that just couldn't get everything worked out to make squeeze everything in that I wanted to do today. So unfortunately, I won't be on the show. But I did want to leave my quick review of the new Snake Eyes movie. I should preface this by saying, I was more of a Transformers kid growing up than I was a GI Joe kid. I had a handful of GI Joe figures. I think I maybe had one or two vehicles, but for the most part, my toys when I was growing up were Transformers and superheroes. I still like G.I. Joe. I watched the cartoon. I loved the G.I. Joe movie, the animated movie when it came out. And enough so that, I went to the theater and saw the first two G.I. Joe movies when they came out, 5, 10 years ago. I thought they were fine. I didn't think that they were anything exceptional, but I thought they were, pretty good for what they were. Um, so I can't speak to the history and like the canon of GI Joe and how well Snake Eyes fits excuse me, within the canon of everything that has gone on in the GI Joe series over the years. I don't remember all the episodes that well. um, but as far as the new movie goes, I thought it was fine. um, that's being a little generous. There was a lot of stuff that was really good about it. The acting I thought was pretty good for the most part. Henry Golding is really good. If you've seen him in other stuff, I think you know what kind of quality he brings to a role. So he was excellent in his role as Snake Eyes. Some of the other actors, the woman that plays his I don't know if love interest is the right word, but definitely someone that has he makes a connection with his female person that he makes a connection with. She's excellent in her role. Storm Shadow, the guy that ends up playing Storm Shadow, is really good in his role as well. So the three main actors of the movie are all excellent. Um, you do get Baroness and you do get Scarlet in the movie. Their performances were fine. They may have chewed the scenery a little more than I kind of would have hoped. But it was more of a kind of early 2000s, late 90s comic book performance from those two. And I don't know if it was necessarily the actresses themselves or if it was the material they were given with. Ultimately, that kind of what holds the movie back is the story. Um, I don't know. I'm going to get into spoiler territory here, so if you don't want any spoilers about the show, you might want to just skip ahead, or maybe Rob will drop some timestamps in here for you to skip over this section. But the story makes you kind of not like Snake Eyes, the character of Snake Eyes, for about 75% of the movie. It starts with him as a young boy seeing his father killed, and then throughout the rest of the movie, he's on this mission of revenge, which in and of itself is fine. Revenge movies can be excellent. But the way they go about making him seek revenge is very, I don't know what the right word. It's very disturbing. It doesn't feel heroic. It doesn't feel like a guy who you want to root for. So much so that he gets approached by a gentleman telling him that he can provide information about the guy that killed his father, which is ultimately what Snake Eyes wants. He wants to find the guy that can kill his father and get his revenge. Um, and so Snake Eyes agrees to work for the guy, and the guy he agrees to work for is trying to go after Storm Shadow. And so, well, the actor, the character that eventually becomes Storm Shadow. And the character that becomes Storm Shadow is next in line to lead this ancient clan of Japanese ninjas that have kept Japan safe for centuries, a very altruistic group of people. Um, and so when you find Snake Eyes kind of becoming friends with this gentleman, you think, oh, this is awesome. Like Snake Eyes is going to see the good that this clan does, and he's going to turn on this bad guy that's trying to get them. And Snake Eyes doesn't do that. Snake Eyes sticks with the bad guy because all he cares about is getting vengeance on the guy that killed his father. So much so that he's willing to take apart this good organization that is doing good things for Japan and the world in general, and that is, actively fighting against Cobra. Um, and so Snake Eyes ends up pursuing, there's a mystical thing that Snake Eyes is after for the bad guy in this movie, and he ends up getting this mystical item that the clan has been protecting for centuries, and Snake Eyes turns it over to him. And so finally, after Snake Eyes, 75% of the way into the movie, you find out that Snake Eyes has gotten this thing for the bad guy. He's given it to the bad guy. The bad guy now has ultimate power, and the bad guy fulfills his part of the deal and gives Snake Eyes the man who killed his father. And only then do we find out that Snake Eyes, the guy reveals that he was working for Cobra. When he went up against Snake Eyes' dad and killed his dad, it was for Cobra. So, of course, this revelation makes Snake Eyes want revenge against Cobra. And who's working for Cobra? The guy he just handed the ultimate power thing to, this mystical power thing to. And then that's when the script flips and Snake Eyes becomes the good guy and goes after this guy. But nothing about Snake Eyes' motivations feels good. I mean, the only reason he turns and turns to the side of good and works with the Joes is because he finds out that his dad was a Joe, and that, the evil organization Cobra is the one that ultimately was responsible for killing his dad. So it's really hard to get invested in the movie. It's really hard to feel good about the character. As far as an origin story goes, going forward, knowing what we now know about the character, it's going to be hard to root for Snake Eyes and feel like, oh yeah, this is a real hero. It's more like a guy who's just kind of still out there fighting against Cobra for revenge, and not because he feels some sort of obligation to be good or has some strong moral code. Um, so that being said, the story really did not hold up for me. I didn't care for the story so much. I will say that the action scenes were good and bad. There were some that were the quick cuts, like close-ups, like you can't see what's going on, and I guess supposed to put you into the action. And I've never cared for those types of fight scenes. I just get lost. I just go, okay, stuff is happening, and I kind of tune out. But there were some good fight scenes. There were some good sword fights. I apologize for that. Somebody's texting me. So all in all, the movie was fine. I wouldn't go in expecting any kind of like re- revelatory comic book movie or anything, or even it's, I guess, not even a comic book movie. Any kind of just action movie. It was pretty standard fare. Unfortunately, I had much higher hopes for the movie. So it is what it is. If I were, trying to decide if I needed to go to the theater and see it or wait for it to hit streaming, I would definitely say just you could wait for it to hit streaming. I don't anticipate it's going to do that well. I don't anticipate we'll be seeing a Snake Eyes sequel anytime soon. I mean, box office is going to be hurt from the pandemic alone, but I can't imagine this movie's going to get great word of mouth and drive a lot of people to see it. So it is what it is. I think that, ultimately, if you go in with pretty low expectations, you won't be real disappointed like I was. So thanks for letting me take a moment to give you my rundown of Snake Eyes. I know the guys have a good show. There's lots of good topics coming up. Like I said, I really wish I could have been there to talk about some of them, but I'll definitely be back next week. And until then, you guys take care.
So there we have it. And it's interestingly enough, like I said, I hadn't heard John's review of it, and he says the same things I've heard. He just further
Yeah.
confirms that Snake Eyes is unlikable, so that's kind of annoying. The other thing too, since he was already talking spoilers, the other thing I heard about this, and I always want to see what your opinion is on it, Rick. Apparently, with like the Storm Shadow thing, and like John said, like Snake Eyes like is working for the bad guy, and his ultimate motivation is revenge. So like he ends up siding with Cobra and like does the thing, and then he like if I'm remembering correctly, one of his first kind of like missions for Cobra is to infiltrate Storm Shadow's clan, right?
Yeah.
And so like he does that, and like you kind of see that in the trailer where like Storm Shadow takes him there and like whatever. But then, like, apparently what ends up happening is, like, because he's working for Cobra, he does something that ultimately, like, betrays the clan, and then it inevitably leads to Storm Shadow being kicked out of his own clan. So, like, that's why he gets, like, exiled from the clan, and then apparently, like, later on, once, like John said, Snake Eyes finds out that, oh, like, Cobra's, like, betrayed him, so he wants to betray Cobra. Apparently, he like, the clan just welcomes Snake Eyes back in.
Hey, come on back, buddy.
Yeah, and it's like, "Wait a minute, you exile Storm Shadow, who's been a member of the clan and is, like, a blood right to the clan, or I don't know why, but obviously something that had to do with Snake Eyes, ultimately, I imagine. You exile him, but then Snake Eyes betrays you and then comes back and it's cool.
He's in the club, yeah.
It just doesn't make any goddamn sense. Like, I don't know. Does, hearing John's review and then, like, the things that I've heard make you like, what how do you feel about the
I'm just
movie
gonna
at this
wait till
point?
it goes on streaming. I have no desire to go,
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, after hearing
which
all the
sucks. I mean,
yeah, after hearing all this, like, stuff about it from other, like, critics and other reviews I've heard, and then John's lining up, like, exactly, like, everything I've heard, I don't even know if I care to watch it at this point, frankly. Like, I normally
I
like
wasn't like itching to see it to begin with,
no,
but
I thought it looked cool, and, like, had it been, like, a really good movie and people would recommend it and, like, etcetera, then I
maybe
would
you
have
go
definitely
see it.
watched it.
Yeah,
But knowing that, like, it's ultimately going to lead to nowhere because it's, like, so bad that there's probably not gonna be any sequels to it, they're probably gonna scrap the whole thing if they planned on doing other ones and what have you, then it's like, what's really the point, you know?
yeah,
It's like when a show goes on and you find out it got canceled after, like, its 1st season and didn't get to, like, actually have, like, a finale, like, would you bother watching it? You know what I mean? Because they obviously probably set some stuff up in this movie for there to be a sequel.
yeah,
And if it's just ultimately not gonna get the sequel, it's like, is it even worth it? It's like all the
right,
reviews are pretty bad, and if they're not gonna continue it on, I don't really know if I feel like wasting my time.
right.
Like,
That's how I feel, and it
especially
sucks.
the shaky cam I don't wanna watch that
Like,
shit.
I love Snake Eyes. I love the way he looks. I love his armor, his helmet, all that stuff. I'm like a sucker for that stuff. But that really disappoints me to hear that it was such a bad movie. Like,
I know, dude.
and usually John's like got the positives on like movies. Like I'm not saying like he likes bad movies, but John's always got something positive to say about movies that, in your perspective may be lacking or whatever. But I mean, he just sounds like he didn't like that at all.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely seems to find,
You see,
like, the brighter
he's a
things,
glass
you know?
half full kind of
Yeah, yeah,
guy when it
yeah.
comes to that.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm definitely more well, that's the thing. I definitely can set aside some problems if the good stuff is good, but,
Yeah.
like, the good has to outweigh the bad. If the
It
good
sounds like it
yeah,
doesn't.
if the good doesn't outweigh the bad, then it's really hard for me to, like, encourage anything of the movie or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it is disappointing. So, nevertheless, though, I guess the question is, though, guys, have you seen Snake Eyes? And if you have, were your thoughts kind of in line with John's and then everything I've heard, or did you like it? You know, whatever it is you think about Snake Eyes, let us know down in the comment section below. All right, guys. So now we are going to get into our main topics here, but before we do not forget that you can submit topics and questions to the show by emailing us here at honestandUneducated@gmail.com. That's honestandUneducated@gmail.com. And that being said, you can also find this there's an audio only version of the show that goes up on like Spotify, any podcast platform, iTunes, Spotify, whatever you use to search Honest and Uneducated and subscribe to the podcast feed if you don't have time to watch it on YouTube, while you're driving or whatever, like it happens, that's why it's there. So subscribe to the podcast. And then also every Wednesdays when I'm not super back down, with bogged down with, things to do, I do post like collectible reviews like hot toy statues, etc. So those will be coming back here once I have some time to do so. Most recently I did a collection kind of update, so that video is up on the channel now. And other than that, every Friday we usually live stream. So if you want to come every Friday, normally around 9 p.m. Eastern time, you can come hang out with us, chill, we'll talk. Normally, depending if there's like a new release or something, like a new movie, TV show or something, we'll kind of we'll have like a spoiler discussion of it and during the stream and play some games, maybe, whatever it is. So come, just keep an eye on the channel, subscribe and do all that sorts of fun stuff, and then come hang out with us while we're streaming, join the discussion and whatnot. But first, let's break down this first topic. And this one's good. This one was kind of surprising. And I'm curious to see what kind of more comes from this because at the Comic Con at Home venture that's going on here, the most interesting thing, at least to me, that I've seen was that Star Wars released an official poster that has a young Luke Skywalker here with Grogu crafting a lightsaber,
A yellow
and a
lightsaber.
yellow lightsaber at that. So, the real question with this, and Rick, you kind of alluded to this and talked about that. We were talking a little bit about this prior to the show. And I think the biggest question here is like, how much of this right here, this, Luke training Grogu, are we going to see any of this?
Right.
Is this all gonna be? Because my initial thought is the fact that this poster exists almost guarantees that we're not going to see this in the show.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's why the poster's here, because it's gonna
Yeah,
be
it's
something that
explaining
happens
something.
off camera.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, that being said, they obviously release posters, plenty of posters of things that feature events that actually do happen in movies and TV shows and everything. I just don't know to what extent and lengths that we're ever going to see, CGI young Luke Skywalker again. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, my thing is too, like, Grogu's still a baby. I think, little dude can't handle a lightsaber. Like, I mean, maybe he can.
That's a fair point too.
I mean, like, you just got to think, like, he's not coordinated. He's not, and they make that very apparent in seasons 1 and 2 that, I mean, like, he's a baby. Like, he can't talk. I mean, he can communicate mentally, but
Well, maybe
would you give a baby a lightsaber?
well,
Like,
maybe his training through the Force though is helping him become more mature.
well, maybe he knows a lot more than we think he does, anyways, because it's not like he's getting to show off a whole lot, anyways, with Mando.
Yeah. Well, that was another thing too. You kind of got to think.
He did train at the Jedi Temple. Like,
Yeah, he was a youngling there. And you also, if you consider how like Yoda acted in like the OT,
yeah,
like he acted
he's
kind
a
of
goofy little
childlike.
dude.
Yeah, he acted pretty goofy. So like maybe like in the prequels, he was a pretty serious dude.
Yeah, but in the OT, like, he's
Yeah,
a goofball.
he's
Like,
yeah he's a goofy dude. So like maybe like I don't know, maybe he's not as immature, underdeveloped as we think. Because maybe just like it's like a normal character trait for Yoda species to be like kind of a goofball.
yeah,
Like, maybe, I don't know.
smart goofball.
Because I guess at the same time, we really don't know how long, like, what time period does this poster come from? Is this a week after the finale of season 2 or a year after?
I
Or
feel like
2
it'd have to be
years?
a ways away.
That's what I'm saying. So, like,
He's not just like picking him up, like, okay, dude, we're gonna go make a lightsaber now. Like, first things first.
because I think ultimately, I think just because of how popular Grogu is, I feel like we have to see him again at some
Oh
point in
god,
The
yeah.
Mandalorian.
My thing that's bugging me about this poster is Luke's face. Like, I feel like he should be looking at Grogu, looking at the crystal, whatever, but he's like looking at the viewer, and to me, that just kind of throws me off. But
That is weird.
it's
Like,
just like, check out what we're doing.
yeah, that is kind of an odd choice. Like, why have him focusing? Because like Grogu's looking at the lightsaber bits.
Have him just glance at the crystal. Like, just they
Like,
could have
you'd
made his
think he'd
pupils
be
look
looking
down.
down at the lightsaber
Yeah.
bits. Because like he would theoretically be. Here's the other thing too that I don't. The thing I actually don't like about this poster, other than him where he's looking, I do find that to be kind of odd now that you mention it. But crafting your lightsaber is supposed to be something that you do on your own.
Yeah, not just like,
So the fact that Luke's sitting there holding the kyber crystal really doesn't make a whole lot of sense with the lore. It would make a lot more sense that if Grogu had his right hand up and was holding the yellow lightsaber and Luke was just there observing him.
yeah.
That would make more sense with Jedi lore and Star Wars lore when it comes to crafting your lightsaber.
Yeah.
So that's why another thing that makes me kind of think that like maybe this isn't even like a real thing. Like this is just promotional and it's not even
Like,
how it
that's what he's
happened.
doing, so we're just gonna make it into a poster. Like,
Yeah. Because I don't know. Fundamentally speaking, why is he looking at us? Why is Luke looking at us? And why is he holding the Kyber crystal?
right.
Those two things you go completely against what would be happening if Grogu was actually like crafting his lightsaber.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. So I don't. Do you think? You think though we're gonna see Grogu back in season 3?
Oh, yeah.
You think season 3 is early as season 3?
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, season 3 could be 5 years down the road. Not, like, for us, but, like,
Like in the show?
yeah, like, time-wise, it could be
I don't know. I don't think they're. Well, I guess they could. I don't know how.
he could already be ruling Mandalore for all we know.
Well, that's the
Apparently, it
thing.
is filming in secrecy, too.
My assumption with season 3 of Mando was going to be that he was going to go with Bo-Katan and retake Mandalore in some capacity. I figured that's what like the whole season would be about.
Yeah.
I don't know though. Like, is that one? Because that'd be a kind of a big deviation from how the show has been up
Yeah,
to
from,
now.
like, cool bounty hunter guy to, like, leading and ruling
Well, not
Mandalore.
even so much that because I don't think he's gonna. I don't think Din Djarin is gonna ultimately be the ruler of Mandalore. I think they're gonna find a way within the code to have Bo take the dark saber and go and do it because that's like I mean, that's been her thing. Like,
Bo.
yeah, all through like Clone Wars and Rebels, like she has fought for Mandalore like her whole life. Like her sister was literally the prime minister of Mandalore. You know, like
Right.
or queen, whichever one it was. I can't remember.
Duchess.
Sort of Duchess. There we go. I knew there was some sort of hierarchy that they did there. In this regard, the ruler, put it that way.
Yeah.
So I mean, it would just make sense that Bo would be the person to rule it. Other than it just doesn't make sense for Din to do it. He hasn't.
No.
He doesn't even know what the hell. He's in this zealot cult, this weird offshoot of Mandalorians. You know, pretty much Death Watch.
Yeah.
It's like who he's with.
Religious fundamentalists.
Yeah, like so, like that's never worked out in Mandalore's history. Like at least since the Clone Wars and
I
everything.
don't think it's worked out in, like, our history if anybody does that. Like,
Yeah, for sure. So it would make sense for that. But the thing is, like the show itself, like season 1 and 2 have always been like these. Like each episode was its own like single adventure. There
yeah.
was the overarching plot, but it wasn't like each episode was part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and it was one continuous story. The retaking of Mandalore, I imagine, would be like one consistent story,
Right.
unless it's like wrapped up really quickly. But I don't
Yeah.
know why would you wrap it up really quickly? Because it's kind of like a big deal.
Yeah, for sure.
So like I don't know. I'm curious to see what happens with that. Because if it is that, I don't know where Grogu and Luke would fit back into that.
Sure.
You know, and then if we do see Grogu again, do you think we're gonna see CGI Luke, or do you think he won't be there?
I think he will be. People really liked it, and Disney does what people like, I feel like, so
Yeah, but
that's
don't
why I
you?
think Grogu will be back.
Grogu has to be back because it's Grogu. Like you know, what I mean, and frankly, the first 2 seasons of the show are based around Grogu, and he became such a big worldwide phenomenon that like they have to bring it back at some point. My only thing is like with Luke, the reason his return or his appearance was so impactful is really because nobody expected it.
Right.
So if they just keep bringing Luke back, do you think it would like kind of lose some of the magic and the appeal, or do you think like people would just
Yeah,
be
I mean, the
happy to see
mystique
Luke?
of it.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's really possible.
I don't know. I think in the end though, just seeing like this good version of Luke Skywalker is cool enough on its own. Like
Yeah, I
to
mean, it's
me,
kind of redeemed him from the, sequel trilogy
that's what
in a
I'm
way.
saying. So like I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. I'm curious to see where the hell it goes, and I
Right.
wonder if like the rumors have been that like Mando and Ahsoka and Boba Fett are all gonna like tie into some like Avengers style team up. So I
Yeah.
wonder how much of season 3 of Mando and then book because I think we're getting Book of Boba Fett first. So I wonder how that's gonna tie in with Mando, and then Mando will tie in with Ahsoka, and then I'm wondering how all that's gonna happen because like my initial thought was Thrawn will ultimately be the big bad guy they go up against
Right.
because Thrawn was name dropped in Ahsoka's episode. So he's a large enough threat for them all to have to team up against, but
Right,
I'll just
right.
have to wait and see. I'm curious to see how they execute it. But the question is, though, guys, what do you think about this poster? Do you find it? Do you think this is like an actual like canon lore based thing that happened, like in this exact way? Do you think we're going to see Luke and Grogu in season 3 of Mando or ever again in general? And do you think that Do you think that, like, Mando season 3 is gonna have, like, a time skip, or do you think it's gonna pick up immediately after? Whatever you think, let us know down in the comment section below. Alright, guys, so our next topic here is gonna be a little bit of a Comic-Con wrap-up, if you will. Now, granted, I haven't seen a lot of this stuff because, like I kinda said off the top, I forgot this was even going on, so we're gonna go through the list of things that were revealed, just so you all are aware of it in case, you guys missed it as well, and then we'll talk about anything that kinda jumps out to us here. So, Rick, you ready to go through this list? You ready to go
Let's
through this?
do it.
Do this. So first, here we got a list of all like the big trailers that came out. So there's this horror noir trailer, which is an anthology series that's coming to Shudder, I guess, which could be interesting. I know there's a lot of people who like the Shudder. If you're a horror fan and don't have Shudder, I don't know what you're doing. But
I've heard it's actually pretty good.
yeah, I mean, it's a streaming service that is it's all horror related content. So
Right.
definitely go check that out. I'm not sure if this is, like, one of the first, like, actual I imagine they probably have had originals before, but, I'm not sure if, like, maybe this is one of, like, the few or first that they actually have. I kinda skim through this, 'cause I'm kind of interested in what the hell this is. Interesting. It doesn't look like it gives away too much, it just shows some
Daddy.
titles of some of the series that they're gonna have or the episodes. And Evangelion, 3.0 plus 1.0 Thrice Upon Time trailer, which I'm assuming is the new Evangelion movie. I
That's
still
some wild stuff.
I still haven't watched Evangelion, but it is what it is. I
Is
know a
it
lot of people really like it.
Evangelion or Evangelion?
It's I always have heard it said Evangelion.
You gotta ask Ada. You'd
I
know.
know, yeah, my stepdaughter has watched it also, she probably would know. I mean, I've it's been recommended to me multiple times. I just
I've
haven't
heard it's good.
yeah, it's
I heard
supposed
it's
to be
kind of
really
like
good.
Gundams.
It kind of is, but, like, the Gundam suits are like aliens.
They're like living,
Yeah,
organic.
something
Yeah.
like that.
I
Like
don't
I
know.
said, I haven't watched it yet, so don't jump on me about it. I've heard nothing but good things about it, so it
Hopefully,
is
we're
what it is.
pronouncing it correctly.
Yeah, at some point in time, I'll probably will get
If
around to
not, we'll hear
watching
it in
it.
the comments.
This was the thing I was most excited to see because I love Lucifer, so we got season 6 coming in September. So that's good, September 10th, excited for that. Then there was a bunch of Walking Dead stuff. Dude, I can't believe the show's still going on. No offense to anybody who still likes it. I liked the show in the past. I just got
It's still going.
yeah, I got kind of worn out on it,
I couldn't even tell
personally.
you what's happening at this
Oh, I have
point.
no
I
idea.
remember you and I started, and it was like season 1, okay, season 2, season 3, okay, I'm done. Like
See, I watched it I don't know what season it was, but it was, like, the season where Negan was introduced was the last season
that's
I
the one,
watched.
yeah.
Like, so I don't know what's been going on since. I know
You know,
Rick
you got
left the
Rick Grimes
show.
like, we got Walker's Coral.
Yeah, I don't know
It's like every
what's going
episode.
on. So we get, like, Walking Dead season 11's coming back, and then I don't even know what this World Beyond is, so I'm guessing it was just another spinoff because it's a season 2 thing, so, you got that coming. They dropped a trailer for that if you're a fan of it. Again, not
Walking
trying to
Dead.
shit on any of this stuff. If you like it, that's great. It's just something that fell off for me. I actually watched the first season of Fear the Walking Dead, and I thought it was pretty good. I just got kinda tired of the franchise altogether, so I didn't
Yeah, that's
continue
how I
watching it.
feel about it.
Yeah, so they dropped a trailer, for the season 7. See, they've been going on to 7 seasons, that's pretty good. So, I mean, they dropped that, though. This, Ultra City Smiths, first I've heard of this as well. It's an AMC animated series here. The the animation looks interesting, they look like dolls,
Yeah.
which is kinda weird.
Yeah, it's
Kinda cool
like stop
looking.
animation.
Yeah. Which I don't know anything about this, so I can't really comment too much on it. So it's there.
That is it.
You can go check that out. And then the Blade Runner animated series, you got a first look at that. I didn't know they were making a Blade Runner animated
I had
series.
no idea.
So where is this coming out on? Because I would be interested in watching this. I wonder if it says in the trailer like where it's coming to. I imagine it would be like HBO Max because it's a Warner Brothers property. Well, yeah, it's on Adult Swim, so I presume it would be on HBO Max then.
Crunchyroll.
And it's a Crunchyroll original, which was a part of HBO Max, but I think they sold it off, so I'm not sure where it's gonna be. But it is coming to Adult Swim and Crunchyroll, so I imagine it'll go on HBO Max at some point.
Crunchyroll's like an anime streaming service, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You got that, then Slasher Flesh no, it is Flesh and Blood. I was gonna say Fresh.
Fresh and Blood.
Yeah, Fresh Blood is what I was going for.
Fresh and
Slash
Blood.
there's another Shudder original series there, so you got that. I guess Shudder is trying to pop off here. something Leverage Redemption, which is now on the IMDb TV. It looks like, which I knew there was a Leverage TV show back in the day. I guess this was like a reboot of it that recently came out. Never watched the original Leverage, so I can't speak too much about it. Soldiers or Zombies? What's that?
Why not
Something
both?
coming to Prime. Interesting. I don't know what this is. First, I've heard about this as well.
Trying to turn soldiers into zombies goes horribly wrong. Sounds about right.
Yeah, interesting. I might check it out. And then the Stephen Amell of Arrow fame, it was going to be starring in a wrestling TV series called Heels. So we got our first look at that. The only thing I would watch this probably because I like Stephen Amell and I used to like wrestling back in the day, so there'd
Yeah.
be some appeal in general. It's coming out on Stars though, which I'm not gonna subscribe to
I didn't even
Stars
know they
ever.
had their own streaming service.
Yeah, like that's what's annoying. Like I'm honestly surprised things like Stars and then what's the other one? There's one other one that's always been like its own offshoot. I can't remember what the hell it is right now, but
Encore or something.
yeah, Encore. Yes, Stars and Encore have always been like they're like HBO-esque channels, but were never as big as HBO in name or in content or in quality for that matter. So I was always surprised that Stars and Encore stayed around. And like even today, with all of these big studios having their own streaming services, like Stars and Encore is still around, which I find shocking. Like I've heard they've actually put out some good content here and there, but I was just so surprised that in today's climate, a HBO or a Netflix hasn't just straight bought Stars, so then all the content would be in their platform as
Right.
opposed to like Stars and Encore are just like add-on services now because they're their own channels. Like they're still respectively how the old HBO format used to be, where you just subscribe to HBO through your cable provider or through another app, and then you get that content. It's never neither of those things have ever been as big as like HBO and stuff. So I just find it kind of shocking that it's
Yeah.
still around. Then there's a Star Trek, I guess, animated series coming out that I
Prodigy.
wasn't sure about either. So that's an interesting. I don't know if you're. There's been
Adult animated comedy.
well, there's been a lot of Star Trek's in a weird place right now with like the series that are like on Paramount Plus at the moment. Like they've been really hit and miss. Like from what I understand, all the old like OG Star Trek fans are not a fan of like the new Star Trek stuff that they're
No.
doing, but then a lot of people who were just kind of always lukewarm on Star Trek seem to actually like the new stuff. So I don't really know who to believe here. It's kind of like an OT versus prequel kind of battle in a lot of ways, it seems like. But
Yeah.
I think amongst the Star Wars community, I think, at least in my experience, OT fans and prequel fans are willing to acknowledge the prequels aren't the greatest. You know what I mean? At
Right.
least in my experience. I've never had anybody come out and say that the prequels are straight up better than the OT. I've never heard
Right.
that. I'm sure those people exist out there, but I've never heard it happen. Like, 'cause I like the prequels, but I'm not gonna sit here and say that they're better because they're not. They're just not. Fundamentally, they're not. But if you like them
No.
more, I guess there are people out there who do it. So if you're excited for the Star Trek thing, there you go. I honestly do think that making an animated Star Trek is an odd choice.
It is a little strange, yeah.
Just given the
It's like they're
depth.
trying to take the Star Wars route.
Yeah, which is it's smart because you need to try to get new people on board. You need new fans because Star Trek,
Right.
it's kind of a dead franchise. Like even the JJ movies, they weren't as like they made decent money, but they didn't make $1 billion at the box office per film. Like they didn't
No.
really like. I would say they probably underperformed to what they had hoped they would have. Like when I actually liked the JJ Star Trek movies,
They were
personally.
good, yeah, I thought they were
I thought
good.
they were fine.
Lots of lens flares.
Lots of lens
Lots.
flares, lots of, but I thought they were good. But so hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully, it's a good move and get some people that weren't into Star Trek into Star Trek. I don't know. More Paramount Plus stuff. The Harper House. I don't know what that is. Looks like an adult
Animated
style
family
comedy
with a
thing.
goth son and a bubbly daughter and a cat.
And yeah, see, I've never. And any show that looks like this, I know I'm probably not gonna like it. It reminds me of like Adventure Time and stuff.
Yeah.
Never cared for that kind of stuff. Stephen Colbert presents Tuning Out the News. So I guess an animated kind of
News show, yeah.
news show. I don't know. This might be kind of funny. I'm guessing this is. Oh wait a minute. The Comic Con reported mocked Paramount Plus own Star Trek spinoff and the premise of cosplaying at home. I have no idea what this is. I'm
Right.
wondering if this is going to be like a kind of like make fun of things animated style, or if it's just going to be
That's exactly what it looks like.
like a spoof of his own show.
Right.
Which I guess if you're a fan of Stephen Colbert, you're probably excited for it. So that's out there. This might be just a one-time thing because it says special Comic Con report. I really don't know. This might literally have just been made for Comic Con at home. Like I said, I completely forgot Comic Con at home was happening. So those are the latest trailers and everything that are out. So you can go find those. And then there was one thing other than the Lucifer announcement for season 6. That was the main thing that got me excited and like of all the announcements here so far. We got some other stuff here.
What do we got?
Well, the main thing on this list that I'm excited about, that I had no idea was coming, obviously, was I'm browsing through to make sure nothing else popped up in here. They apparently dropped some more information about the High Republic. I haven't gotten into the High Republic, so I don't really care about that. Robert Kirkman talking about Invincible coming back, and obviously, like, I had no idea there were like because we had Fear the Walking Dead as the spinoff of The Walking Dead. I had no idea there was this The World Beyond
Right.
like
right.
spinoff. I had no idea this
Like
stuff
a
was
second
even,
spinoff.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then they're supposed to be making like standalone movies for The Walking Dead, and like, man, I just feel like this. I could have swore that show had just played its time, man. I don't know, but there's going to be a new Dragon Ball movie.
Oh,
That's what I'm excited for. So they dropped some like concept art. They're calling it Dragon Ball Super superhero. The names ever since they've called brought the franchise back and they went with the Dragon Ball Super as like the title of the franchise. The names have just gotten ridiculous.
Oh no, we were talking about that like Super Saiyan 8 Ultra Super Instinct Mega.
I mean, because like back in the day, back when it was just Dragon Ball Z,
It's like
you
you
just
got
had
Super
Super Saiyan 1, 2, 3, and that was it. Then when you get to GT, you got Super Saiyan 4.
And that was kind of weird, but
I like the look of Super
I
Saiyan
thought it
4,
was
though,
cool,
and I
too,
like
but-
the lore behind it.
Well,
The
like,
lore
every-
behind it is cool as fuck. You have to become a great ape and then like get your consciousness back and take control, then harness the power, and then
Well,
you
my
revert
thing with,
into
like,
it's cool, man.
I didn't really follow Dragon Ball Super, but we were talking about it off camera. It's just so ridiculous now. Like just like Super Saiyan 4 Ultra God Instinct Mega version. Like it's like just make it
Well,
like
no,
Super Saiyan 5.
That's
Like,
what it is, because like before, like I said, you'd have Super Saiyan 1, so the abbreviation would be SS1. But now in Super, if you're not familiar with it, they essentially achieved God level power, and they introduced like angels and stuff into the show and gods. Like Beerus is the god of destruction. They introduced that stuff in Super, so now it's Super Saiyan God is like the thing. That was the first thing, and that's when their hair went pink.
right.
Then there was Super Saiyan God, so SSG, Super Saiyan. So Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan. And that's literally like a thing. And that's when they get the blue hair. But then there's Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan, Ascended Saiyan. Or then like Limit Breaker added on to
Ultra
it. So it's
Instinct.
like SSG, SS, blah. It's just, it's getting out of hand.
Yeah.
Like, I just wish they would go back to 1, 2, 3. Like,
Yeah.
let's just SSG1, SSG2,
Yeah, like,
that's
It's just
now
it's,
they're throwing all these names out, and like now because Dragon Ball Super is the title of the series, even the names sound kind of goofy because like there was like Dragon Ball Super Resurrection F, the Dragon Ball Super Broly, and now it's Dragon Ball Super
I like
Superhero.
my favorite still is always going to be Super Saiyan Vegito. I don't know why. I've got an action figure of him, and I think it was actually because back in the day when I played like Budokai or something like that, he was like the best character, at least like the one I played. But
Gogeta was always the best in the game.
I just like the way Vegito looks too, with the little earrings and his blue and orange versus the orange and blue, and
I always liked Gogeta.
or it's like I told you when we were younger, I met somebody who swore up and down it was Gogeta.
Not Gogeta.
I was like, his name's Vegeta. It's Gogeta. Like
It's Gogeta.
it's not Vegeta. Like
Yeah, it's not.
if that girl's watching this, you're wrong.
You
You know who you are.
Unfortunately, you are wrong. It's definitely Gogeta.
Hopefully, you've learned the error of your ways.
Gogeta is like, what do you think? He's cheese?
It's like he's a go-getter, man.
Yeah,
He's gonna
okay.
get it done, man. He's a go-getter.
So other than they dropped some like concept art for it though. Like they didn't really announce too many details of it, but just like some Piccolo stuff, and then we got Pan, and then we got police outfit Krillin, and then Piccolo's house, which is kind of cool looking. I like the art style for the landscapes because I will say, dude, the Super Saiyan Dragon Ball Super Broly movie, the animation was fucking phenomenal. It looks
What
so
was the
good.
one that we saw in theaters
I-
with Beerus Battle of
that was
Gods?
probably Battle of Gods.
Yeah,
Then.
that was good.
Yeah, that was good, but the animation for Battle of Gods is nowhere near the animation for Dragon Ball Super Broly was incredible.
It was just
It
dope
was, like,
seeing it in the
hand
movie
drawn, it
theater.
was fucking awesome. It was cool to see it in theater for sure.
Yeah.
Then they unveiled this new character, which they still haven't released it. The only cool thing about this is, like, this concept and stuff was actually this character in general was drawn by Akira Toriyama, who's the creator of Dragon Ball, so
It's
it's
got a very
legit.
DBZ look to it.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see, like
1 and 2.
yeah, what this thing is, like what they're gonna be in the movie. Oh, because I wonder if like this is the superhero. You know what I mean? Maybe there's like a superhero like unit, galactic
Like a
patrol
Superman
unit.
kind of character steps in.
Nah, more like My Hero Academia and like One Punch Man, where there is like an organization of superheroes
Yeah.
out there, and like this dude's part of the organization of
You'd think by this
superheroes.
point in Dragon Ball they would know that something like this exists out there, but
Oh, yeah, I mean, think about it. You'd think the same thing going all through everything, then like all the things they went through in Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, and then come Dragon Ball Super, they just find out that there's angels and gods and stuff. You know what I mean? And it's never been told. Like no one ever knew anything about it.
yeah,
But
there wasn't even
Vegeta
like
knew about it
rumors
the
that
whole
have been
time.
heard through time. Like,
Because like Vegeta, like in the movie, Vegeta they have it to where his character has known about Beerus, the Lord of Destruction, ever since he was a child. Because like he had came and like his father had spoke with him or something, or he had seen him like at some time. I forget what it was exactly, but either way, it's like
he's
after
just
all
a
this time,
big old cat.
But either way, then the only other thing is they had this little preview trailer thing, which this looked kind of cool. It's more of like a little hype trailer, but I guess it's a preview of the kind of animation though, and I think it looks fucking awesome. Like the whole movie looking like this would be dope. So I hope that's exactly what this meant. Because
Yeah,
that looks
it was
dope
cool. That was
character
cool.
design wise.
Goku doing like a little dance and
Well, because that's what they went to with the Super Broly movie. Like it was all like hand drawn 2D shit.
yeah,
And then like it went back to their roots. Like and it looked awesome. Like so I'm hoping that's what this looks like, and it looks fucking awesome. Like all the shading in between here, like it's
true.
got life to it, dude. Looks great. So I hope the whole movie looks like this. Because if we are, at least for me, I'm in for a treat. Because I loved that animation. I thought it was great. So yeah, that was pretty much. Was there anything else that we went through that kind of stood out to you, Rick? Because I
Not
kind of
really.
commented on everything that stood out to me.
There wasn't anything, yeah, that really stuck out to me as being like too interesting or anything like that.
Yeah,
But
which we talked about this before when Comic Con at home got like announced to be a thing again. Like, and ever since like we had a story a week or two ago that Marvel and DC films had pulled out of Comic Con at home. So like my
yeah,
question was just like, well, what are they even going to be able to show off at Comic Con at home? Because Comic Con at home last year wasn't really all that good. So like
right.
when you lose your two big main draws, which are like the big DC and Marvel films, what else even is there? And
Right.
for the most part, there wasn't a whole lot. Like in all honesty, there might be. John was saying that there was a lot of like comic book stuff that came out, like which you can expect, but it seems like they had like a
It
more
is
heavy focus.
Comic-Con.
Exactly. But well, you wouldn't think about that anymore. In the last 10 years,
No.
the big thing has been like what movies are going to be announced and
Yeah,
what's
they don't
this,
even
what's
talk
that.
about
Yeah,
comics
the
anymore.
comics are not in the forefront of Comic Con anymore, which is kind of sad in a lot of ways. But for me, the biggest takeaway was obviously Lucifer and Dragon Ball. That was, and then the Grogu poster and everything.
Yeah,
So like
yeah.
the Star Wars thing, the Lucifer announcement for season 6. Which if you haven't watched Lucifer, go watch Lucifer. It's on Netflix. Fantastic show. If you like procedural cop dramas with a twist, that's what the show is
A
essentially.
satanic twist?
Well, it's honestly it's a comedy. Despite, Lucifer being involved, it's a comedy show more than anything,
Yeah.
but it's really good. The dude who plays Lucifer, what's his name? Tom Ellis. He's just the most charismatic dude, like, in the world. Like, at
As
least on
Lucifer should be. I
like, yeah,
mean,
it's like it's if I literally had 0 expectations going into watching the show, and especially my expectations were super low because it first premiered on Fox, and I was always like, "Why is this DC property premiering on Fox and they're not putting it on, like, CW or their DC Universe platform? Like, why is it here?"
right.
And then eventually Fox ended up canceling it, but nevertheless, from episode 1, the Lucifer character played by Tom Ellis is just like he'll win you over, dude. It's just the way just his dialogue, the way he portrays the character is just magnetic, dude. It's magnetic. So that was it, though. That's pretty much. I mean, I guess there's some good stuff here. If you're a fan of Walking Dead, they dropped a bunch of stuff. Like, I don't know. Other than that, I guess the 2 original things coming to Shudder, which would be pretty cool for anybody who's a horror fan and you have Shudder, so you can go check that out. But other than that, it doesn't look like there was a whole lot that we missed out on by not paying too much attention to it.
Right.
So, not that I didn't pay much attention to it, it's like I completely forgot about it, in all
Right.
honesty. So, but nevertheless, the question is, though, guys, was there anything that was announced at Comic Con at home that got you excited? I already said the Dragon Ball news, which completely I had no idea they were working on another movie, so that's good. As you can see, I'm a big Dragon Ball fan. I got
A little
got
bit.
all this stuff here, and then I got big old statues I've done reviews of, like, back in the day, they're up on the channel, so I love Dragon Ball, always loved Dragon Ball, so excited to see that they're coming out with another Dragon Ball movie, and then the Lucifer news, obviously, so whatever it is that happened at Comic-Con at home that you were excited about, let us know down in the comment section below, and did you watch it at all? Did you completely forget about it like we do? Like we did, rather. If you did, let us know down in the comment section below. Alright, guys, so our next topic here kicks us over to the DCEU, or just I'm just gonna start calling it the DC universe like it's supposed to be called. How about that? DC universe. But more onto this actual question. I don't know if it's gonna be a feature film, HBO Max movie, HBO Max TV series. It's kind of up in the air right now. But some really great news, in my opinion, the news that we've kind of talked about before, potentially happening in the past, which has been blatantly denied as well in the past by Michael B. Jordan himself. Well, some more news has come out from Michael B. Jordan that he's apparently actually working on a Val Zod limited series for HBO Max. Now, as going through the article, like I said, I wasn't sure if it's going to be a feature film or a series or whatnot. They are not clear about it. This comes to us from Jeff Snyder at Collider. Look at
Jeff
that
Snyder
rhyme.
at
Look
Collider.
at that. That was good. Didn't even plan that. But nevertheless, they go on to say further in the article that it's still unclear, but it seems like, to the best of their knowledge, that it's looking like it's going to be a type of series. Now, this was an interesting read because I said back in the day, like not back in the day, but not too long ago, we got word that Taheshi Coates, I might be pronouncing his name wrong, but nevertheless, J.J. Abrams has gotten Takeshi Coates or Taheshi Coates, I think is his name. Think their name. Whatever it is, it's a difficult name to read without ever hearing it, you know what I mean? But they are apparently working on a black-led Superman film, but no one has come out to say as to whether or not it's going to be one of the 2 pre-existing black Superman characters in the comics, or if they're gonna, like, race swap or put a twist of some kind on Kal-El. And my stance on it has always been like, I don't care what color Superman is. I don't give a shit about that. But I just think it's kind of a disservice to the character of Kal-El and the character of like Val Zod, and then who was the other one? Calvin Ellis, to not use those characters, those pre-existing. They're already there. Use
Right.
those ones if you wanna tell that story, because you can do much more interesting things with there without alienating anybody. 'Cause you're inevitably gonna get people who there's gonna be backlash. There's always backlash from idiots out there when
Right.
you change anything. You know what I mean? But
Change, yeah.
any sort of change, for good or for worse, you always get some backlash. So I don't know why they'd wanna put themselves in a position to even do that, whether they're in the right or in the wrong. It's just like when you have one option of like potentially alienating people and doing a disservice to the character. That's the biggest thing for me is like why are you gonna introduce something like completely change one pre-existing character when you already have these other characters that you can use and like tell fresh stories with? You know
Right.
what I mean? It's just kind of like I don't know. It just does a disservice to on in all fronts. But like personally, I don't really care what you do, just make a good movie. That's what it comes down to in the end.
Right.
But I just find it kind of odd and annoying that like no one on the camp of the J.J. Abrams team working on this movie has come out to say what they want to do. Like, what are they even working on?
Right.
Like, we've barely gotten confirmation that this Black Superman movie they're making is even happening.
Right,
So it's
right.
kind of
But
odd.
it's like, what's actually gonna
Yeah, so it's like, is
happen?
this even a thing? What is this? But nevertheless, they go on in this article, and the very things that have always worried me, yeah, Ta-Nehisi Coates. Ta-Nehisi Coates. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I
Ta-Nehisi?
don't know. That's the thing, and like they go on to say in this, like it was previously reported, J.J. Abrams and his company were making a Black Superman movie for Warner Brothers that is expected to follow Kal-El and Clark Kent version of the character, which is again kind of odd. But it's saying the character will be played by a black actor in a Bad Robot movie, which will likely be directed by a black filmmaker, as Abrams is simply expected to produce. And then Ta-Nehisi Coates is going on the script. So I just mentioned that. Now, there's some good stuff in this article, though. Where is this at? I'm just going to try to skim through it because I don't want to have to read like everything, but there was some good stuff in here. It's like, well, Michael B. Jordan did work with Warner Brothers on developing a Black Superman movie. At one point, he recently shot down rumors that he would star in Abrams' new film, saying, "I'm flattered that people have me in that conversation. It's definitely a compliment, but I'm just watching on this one." And then, okay, here it is. So, an editorial from Jamie Broadnax for Black Girl Nerds provide some context and prompted Collider to do some digging, as Broadnax sources tell her that Jordan has not wanted to engage in conversations about race bending Kal-El for the same reasons many of the fans are pushing back on the current Warner Brothers reimagined version of Clark Kent, but that he would be interested in engaging on a Black Superman project centering on Val Zod. So I'm glad Michael B. Jordan, we think alike here. 'Cause it essentially like, why would you not, right? The
Right, right.
distinction is an important one, particularly within the Black community, as Broadnax explained how it would be tone deaf of Warner Brothers and DC to race bend a white character and erase black characters that already exist in the DC universe under the Superman banner, which is Calvin Ellis and Val Zod, like I mentioned earlier. And then it's like, what else? Oh, yeah, so if there were two perfectly good Black Superman, why would Abrams' big budget Black Superman movie follow the white version of the character? Is it simply because Clark Kent is better known within the realm of pop culture, which is what everyone's kind of been speculating? The only quote unquote valid, it's not even valid, it's a lazy reason, is because well, everybody knows who Clark Kent is, so we can't make one about Calvin Ellis. Because,
Right,
the fact that you would call it Superman and there'd be a big ass S on the dude's chest, and
right, right,
and the trailer would obviously show this being doing super things, like, that's not enough to know that it's a Superman movie, right?
right,
But calling him Clark Kent is all you need to do. Even though, like, introducing any of the elements that would make a Black Superman character interesting would completely change who Clark Kent is, so it's kinda defeats the purpose.
right.
Like, if you're gonna make a Clark Kent movie, make a Clark Kent movie. But
Yeah,
if you're gonna make a
simple.
Black Superman movie, use Calvin Ellis and Val Zod. You have a lot of freedom to do too, because there haven't really been any fresh and not fresh, but there haven't been any mainstream interpretations of the character in movie format or in TV format. So you pretty much have free reign to tell any kind of story you want with Calvin Ellis and Val Zod. You know what I mean? If you want to focus on like racial injustice that would come to him, you can do that. Like you
Sure.
could do, and that would be seeing a movie with a Black Superman would be fundamentally interesting because you have a character who could literally destroy the planet, but he's there to save the planet. You know what I mean? He's there, he's being a good guy. But the fact that he's like on this earth where there have been racial injustice in our history, and the fact that like you have him there, he was being judged just purely based on the color of his skin and not by his actions and stuff. Like you could have like a really good, interesting story there. Seeing,
Right,
like all these people that he's trying to save and wants to save, like are like against him for like
right, because of, like, the
just
color of his
just yeah,
skin,
just how he
or
looks. It's like you could tell really great stories with that. And, like, why would you want to take away from that and have the conversation be anything about the Clark Kent side of things and changing
Exactly.
Clark Kent? It's like, that's all people are gonna be talking about, and for just reason. Because, like, in this article, like they say, like, why would you just want to erase the 2 pre-existing black characters to do this? Like, you have those characters, use
Exactly.
those
They
characters,
they
you know what I
already
mean?
exist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why it's an injustice, it's a disservice to the Clark Kent character, and it's a huge disservice to Calvin Ellis and Val Zod, who already exist. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know,
True.
I just and it's literally just, like, the lazy way of going about things because, "Oh, Clark Kent," and it's the wrong way too.
It really is. Yeah.
Because it's like, just because he's called Clark Kent, that's not why people like Superman. Like, because of the stories that are told with him, because of the
Because
character.
he's Superman.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
Superman. If you make a movie about Calvin Ellis or Val Zod, a black Superman, just make a damn good movie. That's all you have to worry. It
Exactly.
doesn't matter what his name is.
Yeah.
It
I
doesn't
think
matter
they're
what the color of his
overthinking
skin
it.
is. But, like, I don't know. It's just kind of dumb. But then they go on to say it's important for people to see themselves in the roles that they normally wouldn't see. What that does to the next generation, to a kid or somebody that didn't think that is something that they could achieve. Now they're thinking about it and daydreaming about it. Jordan told the Hollywood Reporter back in April when he was promoting Without Remorse. And then, for anybody out there who doesn't know, I guess I can go ahead and read this part too. Val Zod is Superman from Earth 2, where he is one of the last Kryptonians and the second to assume the mantle of Superman. The character was orphaned after his parents were executed by Krypton's High Court, though he was found on Earth 2 by Terry Sloan, who offered the young alien asylum to protect him from the outside world. Ellis, on the other hand, is Superman Earth 23, where he is President of the United States. And Calvin Ellis was pretty much based on Barack Obama.
Yeah. I remember you
Val
mentioning him.
Zod was hidden from, like, humanity, so he never even actually, like, fully developed his potential as a Superman, as a super-powered Kryptonian,
Right.
and, like, in the comics, at least, like, the most predominant story anyway, like, the other members of, like, the Justice League at the time, I think it's actually Lois Lane too, like, seeks him out because Superman dies. I think Doomsday kills Superman, and then they find out about Val Zod, like, being there, like, existing in
Yeah. And you're like,
general.
oh, we can hit this dude up.
So, yeah, so then, like, Lois Lane ends up finding him and convincing him to, like, help because,
Yeah.
like, Superman died. So, like, that's also a cool story.
Sure. Sure.
But yeah, so that's pretty much it. That was so it's they go on to say though, obviously, that, like, they don't know if this is going to be they are suggesting it's going to be more of a series on this Val Zod character, and it's
Yeah.
still unclear whether or not Michael B. Jordan is going to be playing this character or if it's just his studio or his production company producing the series.
He'd be perfect, I think, for it. But
I think he'd be great. I mean, look at him in the suit.
yeah.
Everybody, dude, everybody. Boss Logic has done numerous ones himself. And ever since they started talking about doing a Black Superman, every time they make a, like, picture, it's always Michael B. Jordan as the character.
Right.
Like, as always, he would be absolutely perfect for either Calvin Ellis or Val Zod. Really, just because it depends on which he would rather play.
Exactly.
Because he's just such a good actor, he could do either or. If he wanted to be the more boastful Calvin Ellis, who, like, becomes president of the United States and does all that, when he could totally pull that off. If he
Yeah.
wants to be, more, like, secluded and, like,
He can do
the
the Val
unknown
Zod
savior,
thing.
that's
Yeah.
Val Zod, like, so it'd be cool. But I think everybody just pictures him in the role because everybody loves Michael B. Jordan. He's
Yeah.
such a good actor. This is what it is.
You're not wrong.
Yeah. So they go on to mention, like, Denzel, though, because he was doing something with, like, his production company made a movie with Denzel. Denzel would be really cool, Calvin Ellis, too.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he'd be a very good, like,
He's a little on
patriotic,
the
like,
older side, but yeah.
yeah, but I mean, Calvin Ellis is based on Barack Obama, so I mean, you just go get Barack Obama.
Yeah, just go get
Just go
Barry.
get Barack, dude. He'd do it. Like, there was a video I saw of Barack. He was out with Biden somewhere, and he, like, sinks a 3,
Yeah.
like, on the court. It was so funny.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
and then he just, like, walks off, like, just like
It's
another
like,
day in the bar. Yeah, Barack Obama was a funny dude, man.
yeah, he was.
He was a funny guy.
Even if he wasn't trying to be, like, yeah.
Yeah, he was just a funny guy. But nevertheless, though, you hear this stuff. What do you think about this? You excited that, would you rather see a movie as TV series? Would you be okay with them just
Either
race
or.
swapping Clark, or would you?
No, like after we read about it, I didn't know much about it or anything, but after we read about it and talked about it, like, just make him an established character already. Like, don't race swap him, because I think that would honestly have the opposite effect of what they're trying to do. And by race swapping him, it's just like, oh, we made him a black guy, versus just like, hey, check out these really cool pre-existing, African American Supermen that already exist. instead of just like, oh no, we have a black Kent now. I don't
Mhm.
know. So
That's the thing too, like, my stance on it has always been, like, I don't really care what race you make a character, especially
just
if you
make it good.
just make it good. That's all that matters. But primarily, if you're going to talk about like race or gender swapping a pre-existing character, the only limitation I feel like that would have is if it fundamentally affects the character.
Right, right.
And to do anything like it's really to take advantage of like from a storytelling standpoint of having a black Superman and like honing in on any of like the racial injustice or anything that a orphaned, black-skinned Kryptonian would be going through on Earth, like our Earth. To call him Clark Kent would fundamentally change the Clark Kent character, because
Yeah.
Clark Kent, as we know him in the comics, was traditionally white-skinned. So everything that character has gone through he has never gone through that sort of thing.
Right.
So
He doesn't have the same issues that yeah,
yeah, so whereas someone like Calvin Ellis or Val Zod, they could go through those things and it would
true.
make sense. And that's where like alienating people would come into, because if you just do it to change Clark because Clark's the well-known one, you're going to alienate anybody who is a fan of Clark Kent, because that's not the Clark Kent story.
No.
Whether or not it's good, like it's like I don't really care. Like there are pre-existing Black Superman, so that's the more logical way to go. Like it just is what it is.
Yeah, yeah.
But like it changes the character because now you're introducing things that Clark never went through. Whereas Val Zod and Calvin Ellis, they would have gone through that stuff. So I
Yeah.
just feel like it limits you. Like, it's just kind
No,
of
yeah, for
and it's
sure.
just a lazy way of doing things. It's no different than like taking like Batman, taking Bruce Wayne and making him a black character. That would fundamentally change him because he's in a place of white privilege. Like
Exactly.
he was from a rich family, grew up with everything, so it's like you could make him black, but then you're just doing it just to do it. Whereas you're not gonna get any interesting character choices out.
Exactly.
And at that point, if
It's
you're
like,
not
wow,
doing it
that's
to tell
exactly.
interesting stories, then why would you even do it?
No,
Like, it's
yeah.
just kinda pointless. Like, like, because you wanna take advantage of it to actually get there's always, like, an underlying, like, message of any sort of movie or art. And if you're not doing I don't know, it just seems like a lazy way to do it. Like, "Well, we wanted to make Batman, and we wanted, like, some kudos points with the black community, so we made him black."
Right,
Like, what
exactly.
it's like, come on, just tell a good story. Tell something interesting that people would wanna see and actually, like, relate to, and
Yeah, just don't just
yeah,
race
don't just
swap it
do
to
it to
race
do it.
swap it.
Because then if you do it just to do it, you end up getting something like the Ghostbusters movie when they made them all female. Now,
Exactly.
granted, I never watched that movie, and I heard it was better than a lot of people give it credit for, but a lot of people weren't on board with it. Like, and it's just like, I don't know why.
Yeah,
Like, it's like, well, why'd you do it? Like, if you didn't tell really any interesting stories because of it. Because I would have always thought it would have been cool if they did that, and it's like they're all the daughters of the original
yeah,
crew.
yeah.
Because then it has meaning. It's like they all passed
Not just, like,
away.
female
Yeah,
versions.
no, it's just it's just female versions of it. Okay, like just like okay. If they were all daughters of the original crew, then it's like, well, cool. That's your interesting premise. Like they're taking over, they're doing their thing. Like, is what it is. But nevertheless, I'm excited for this, no matter what it is.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure
And
it'll be good.
I hope that they do get I hope that we get some more clarity on the JJ Ta-Nehisi Coates story and what the hell they're planning on doing. And I really hope I would really love to see both Val Zod and Calvin Ellis get their time to shine. So I would hope that one of them like is like the JJ film, the JJ and Coates project is either Gal Zod or Val Zod, Alvin
Mm,
Ellis or Val Zod, and then Michael B. Jordan's doing the other one.
right.
You know what I mean? That would be great. Because then instead of getting one, you're getting two,
Yeah,
but then they're both so different. You just get two great new characters on screen, and it's two new black superhero characters that people could look up to and learn about. You could tell great stories with both of them because they both come from very different places. Like I said, Alvin ends up becoming president of the United States. He would go through a lot more different trials and tribulations than a Val Zod would go through because Val Zod was kind of hidden from everybody. You know what I mean? He's
yeah,
more of he got called into action. Now they could totally do whatever they wanted with him, but that would be two very different sides of the coin that you could tell. So I'm
true.
excited for it. I just hope something comes out of both of it. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Question is, though, guys, what do you think about this? And which character do you think that Michael B. Jordan should produce a Val Zod movie, or would you rather see Calvin Ellis, or like me, would you rather just see both? Because in the end, I hope that both of these characters get their time to shine. So as opposed to just one of them, and sure, maybe eventually down the line this would happen at some point, as most things do. But it'd be really great to see, both Calvin Ellis and Val Zod and just how different that they are. You know what I mean? So whatever you think, though, let us know down in the comment section below. All right, guys. So our final topic here, unfortunately, I have to cut the show a little bit short today, but to cut two topics, I'll go over the two topics very briefly here, just so we can actually have them talked about. But we were going to talk about the news that we had a new Batgirl cast, so that is coming. Leslie Grace, who was In the Heights, she is going to be our new Batgirl and is being directed by the two fellows who did the Bad Boys for Life movie, which is pretty good. I liked that movie; it was decent. So I'm excited to see what is going to come of this Batgirl project because I believe it's coming out on HBO Max. And initially, it was being developed by Joss Whedon. I don't know if they're actually using anything from the Joss Whedon script and what he had worked on to make this Batgirl film or series. I think it's going to be a film, but nevertheless, the only other interesting thing to note here is that the writer of this Batgirl series or film also wrote Birds of Prey and the upcoming Flash movie. And I can't find the name in here. I know it's somewhere in the article, but I don't have time to go through it. Unfortunately, where's the name? Nevertheless, it's the same person. We got to get to our last topic here because, unfortunately, like I said, I have some things I have to do. And then our other one was that we got the new Dune trailer dropped. Rick, did you see the new Dune
I did
trailer?
not see the
You
new
did not
Dune
see it?
trailer.
Dude, it's really good. I highly recommend going
Yeah,
and
I'll take a look
watching the
at that.
Dune trailer. It's super good. Best trailer. They've only had 2 trailers, but this is the best one they had yet. And then the news came out that they were making a. I don't know. This was, I guess, kind of announced before, but they're making a Dune series, Sisters of Dune, but they have a new showrunner because, interestingly enough, the previous showrunner had to stop writing this show because they're focusing on the Dune sequel films. So I think there's been a lot of like questions, as whether or not we're going to see more in the Dune franchise because Warner Brothers may have killed the chances of it by doing the day and date release. So I think probably to appease what's his name, the director. Why am I Denis Villeneuve? They're probably gonna guarantee him his movies, I would bet, because Denis Villeneuve wanted to make a trilogy, and he came out and was very vocal about them pretty much killing the chances that Dune has of becoming a franchise by putting it day and date on HBO Max. So I'm guessing that they probably said like, Denis, you're gonna make your 2 movies. Like, it is what you will make your 2 movies. That's my guess. So that's why he had the writer who was formerly working on the show has now moved over. It was John Spates, if I'm pronouncing the name right. He was attached to run the Dune, Sisters of Dune series, or the Sisterhood rather, Dune Sisterhood, and he has stepped away to just work on the second Dune film. So I think no matter what, this second Dune is happening. So look forward to that. But our final topic here, though, other than those 2 brief ones that we have to kind of cut short, is the Bad Batch spoiler discussion here for, what was this, episode 13?
I think so,
Yeah,
yeah.
Infested. So off the bat, we've had very similar thoughts about this episode. And for me, I think I don't want to say it was bad, but it was the worst of the series
Yeah.
so far. And I find that is a bit of a disservice to the series because there's only 3 more episodes. This was episode 13. There's only 16 total. And my main complaint with this entire damn series so far has been I don't know where the show is going.
Then this did not
Yeah,
clarify
this
anything.
was the biggest throwaway episode of the entire thing.
It literally, like, it could have not existed and it would have been.
It had no need to exist. Like, and maybe I missed something, but I was like so bored with it watching it. I barely even remember it.
Yeah.
Like that's how like kind of, which is weird because it was like a 27-minute episode. It was like long, but I just felt like there was like no point to it all. Like there were some familiar faces back in it. Like man, I'm blanking on races now. How am I blanking on races in Star Wars? What are the little Egyptian looking dudes? What are their names again? These guys.
I forget what species that is, but they were pretty cool, actually.
No, yeah, I love these dudes. They're essentially crime bosses. Like their entire planet is a crime planet.
Right.
How I forget their name right now. The Pikes. The Pikes. There we go. Thank God.
I like the way they talk.
Yeah, dude, they're cool, dude. Like the Pikes are cool. If you watch Clone Wars, they had a lot of time to shine in Clone Wars.
Yeah.
But, so we got to see some Pikes in here, and you like, this dude, this I don't really what were your thoughts on it? What were your thoughts on the episode, Rick?
It just didn't really do much for me. I mean, like, it was decent, but wasn't
I like, it wasn't bad, it was just kinda like, what was the point of it?
right. Yeah, there wasn't much that happened,
It
and
didn't bring anything it didn't bring the story any forward, like,
there's those bug creatures that they woke up, and they had to go back and get the spice, and
but what was the point of the entire mission?
nothing. To get
Like
Sid her
I just feel like it led to nowhere,
right.
and I don't understand why this late in the game, we still don't know,
Like,
like,
what's gonna happen? Maybe there really isn't much that's gonna happen. I mean,
but, like, I still don't even know what the story's about, man.
yeah.
That's what's been, like, bothering me about the whole thing, and, like, there wasn't even, like, it just ends after this, like, there wasn't any, like,
That's what I thought.
cliffhanger
It's
or
just like,
anything.
"Oh, it's over."
Like, it
Well,
was literally just, like, this random little thing happened and,
I
like,
don't know if it's
it
just
goes to
been
normal.
the last couple episodes, but it's just turning into this whole just like, "Okay, we help them, cool. Oh, there's another person needs help," and Omega's like, "Oh, we gotta help them," and, they help the person, and episode's over.
Yeah. Which would be fine. Honestly, that would be totally fine because that's how Mandalorian was. That's
Yeah,
exactly how it
like
was. It was
adventure of the day
yeah,
kinda
each
thing.
episode was like that, but that's what the show set itself up to be.
Right.
This show, on the other hand, set itself up from the beginning to be something a lot bigger.
Explain a
Like
lot of things, tie up some loose
yeah,
ends, like,
like, it started out with Order 66, and there
yeah,
was, like, a
the
big
first
old
episode.
hour-long episode.
Yeah.
And then they introduced Tarkin and the freaking Empire and the rise of the Empire. Then they show like the freaking Empire and Tarkin coming to Camino and discontinuing the clones, and then they show the Empire and the effect that it had on a planet. You know, when they go to
Ryloth?
not Ryloth, the one where the clone guy was with his Twilight kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because
and
it showed the effect that the Empire had on star systems. You know,
right,
like, they couldn't leave the planet, they had to get their chain codes and,
right.
like, they had to smuggle themselves
Credits
off,
are
like,
now
yeah
Imperial
yeah, exactly,
credits,
the
and
Republic credits are no longer good, you have to it's like, they introduced big stuff. The Kaminoans, the Camoans and their struggle to stay relevant.
right,
They're trying to get we found out the other episode that the whole plan that they have, their thing was to get Omega back because she and Boba Fett are the only last two sources of Jango Fett DNA, so they are like required in order for them to make these new stage 3 clones.
yeah.
Nothing.
Doesn't seem like
The
anything's gonna happen with
radio
this.
silence on that ever since we learned that.
Right.
And like they
Hasn't
introduced
even been
Cad Bane.
mentioned again.
Yeah, it hasn't been mentioned again one single time. Cad Bane showed up a couple times, so it's like they kind of tease the existence of Boba Fett, and then nothing.
Nothing.
Like absolutely nothing happens. And then we haven't. And then you still have the crosshair drama with them, and
And
like
we
so.
don't know what's gonna happen with that.
Yeah, we went like multiple episodes without even seeing or mentioning Crosshair again, and then he's back in it for a few episodes, and they don't really touch on anything with it.
Right.
Like we saw him like a couple episodes ago when he gets his face all burned and he had his eye covered up, his whole head wrapped, and then the next time we see him, the only thing that's damaged on him is like the side of his head, right where the inhibitor chip is.
Which is obviously gonna come into play at
Yeah,
some
exactly. Which is like okay, so they're gonna make that the thing. Which I don't know why they had to cover up his entire face if that's where he got damaged. Which doesn't even make any sense because they explicitly showed
people
the thruster hitting this side of his face
right, and
and
it's
he was
the
covering himself up with this side, which would have protected the inhibitor chip on this side. But somehow for plot reasons,
plot armor
the
in.
the inhibitor chip is what got damaged. Because we started to see during the Ryloth episodes, or at least in the last one, that it seemed like Crosshair was questioning everything. You know what I mean? After Hauser, you know, went out there, dropped his guns, and was like, "What are we doing here? Like, we were here to protect these people from the Separatists, and now we're here." And it's like, okay, this would be interesting stuff. But then, like, this episode happens after that, and it's like,
Nothing.
what was it for? They've introduced all these interesting things. And I feel like every time they introduce something interesting, you get one of these.
Yeah, it just doesn't touch on anything.
Yeah, like, this was the biggest like, and 'cause here's the thing, like, there have been some quote unquote like, there have been some episodes that people would call, like, filler episodes. But I would argue that all the quote unquote filler episodes up to this point have all done something to progress at least one person's character.
Right.
This
Advance the
one, not so much.
story and
Yeah.
yeah, not at all.
This one didn't do anything. You didn't learn anything new about any of the characters. Even though they introduce new characters and they bring the Pikes in, like, you don't really learn anything new about how they're functioning in this new environment. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
it's not that I, like, hate I love the show. I really like the show.
Yeah, it's a good show.
I pre-ordered the Hunter and Echo Hot Toys. I love
Right.
the show.
Like, you like the show enough,
Like,
obviously.
I like the show. They better, speaking of which, make Tech and Wrecker and Crosshair, or I'm gonna be royally pissed off that I
I
have
mean, you
2
want
of
the whole
Bad
Bad Batch.
That's what I'm saying. And that's a side story, though, but the point is, it bothers me the most when, like it bothers me because I like it and because I'm invested in it and I wanna know more, you know what I mean? If I didn't care, I wouldn't care. But the fact that there's all these really interesting things that haven't been touched upon. We haven't seen in Star Wars the effects of Order 66 as they happen. We haven't seen the rise of the Empire. We haven't seen the Camoans being phased out and the clones being phased out. We haven't seen that stuff. They introduced that stuff here,
Yeah, yeah.
but they're not proceeding with those cool fucking stories, man.
Exactly.
Like, that's what's bothering me. Like, those are all really cool ideas and things we haven't seen. So, like, I really wish you'd just focus on that rather this kind of stuff. This would be more fine if they would give us some clear indication of how much further they want to go with the Bad Batch.
Right.
Because, like, I don't even know if they're having a season 2 at this point. I mean, and that's what kind of bothers me. It's like, if I knew a season 2 was coming, maybe I wouldn't care so much about this.
Yeah, but you just don't even know what to expect at this point. Like,
Exactly. It's all confusing. Like, so it's like, because that's the thing, they've introduced all these character threads and all these interesting plot points. There's 3 episodes left. So what are they actually going to bring to a conclusion at the end? Because the only thing they could possibly bring to a conclusion at this point would be the Crosshair story.
I was just about to say that.
They don't have time to elaborate any further on the Camoan stuff. They don't have time to elaborate further on the Empire stuff.
I mean, they've got time, but not enough.
No, not enough to show and do anything viable. Like,
Yeah.
the only thing they could possibly do is wrap up the Crosshair arc.
Yeah, that's literally it.
That's it. So, I mean, that's fine as long as there's I'd just like to see more. Like, so, like, if Crosshair comes, like, reunites with the crew and then they go and season 2 is about them all being united and then, I don't know, that'd be cool. But I don't know. What would you like? How would you like to see it wrap up? Because that's how I would like to see
I
it
don't
wrap
even
up at this
know.
point.
I mean, like, yeah, basically, I'd like to see Crosshair come back, reform the crew, the Bad Batch, the OGs, and just kind of take it from there. I don't really know else what would happen.
Yeah, I have no idea. Like, I'm your guess is as good as mine. I hope they do something like that, and I hope that there's more of season 2 where it's, like, kind of the Bad Batch against the Empire.
Yeah, yeah.
And they
you
go
got
and,
like
like
Crosshair on the team now that knows a lot about the Empire
Yeah.
because he was part of it. and-
Like, maybe, like, once Crosshair reunites with them, they go and take down the clone facility
Crosshair was
themselves.
so yeah, like Crosshair is so like snake-like though to begin with. He just didn't really seem like he liked any of them.
Oh, he didn't.
No,
Like,
he was just kind of like
He was
"Leave me
really
alone."
shitty. Well, it's because of the chip, though. The chip's
Yeah.
always been fucking with him. That's why I think now that it's been damaged,
You think he'll
You're-
just be
you're
like, guys,
starting-
I'm back.
well, you're starting to see he has empathy and stuff. Like,
Yeah,
a lot more than he ever did before because the chip was always affecting him in some capacity. You know, even pre-Order 66, the chips were still there, and they still altered their brain functions, you know? That's what the show's kind of told us anyway, is that
right.
the 'cause, I think Omega even says it, like, the chips, like, conditioned their brain genetically to be different and receive the order, yes, but because of that, their brains have been altered in general, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Because they couldn't just have it in there and you flip a switch, like, it messed with the genetic code to even make that even be functional, you know? So, I don't know. I just hope at the very least it ends well, and I hope we do get more than
Right,
anything.
right.
Because there were a lot of cool ideas that they introduced in the show that I'd like to see them go on for. And the fact that I guess one thing that gives me hope that we will get more out of like more seasons was that season 1 of the Clone Wars was god awful. Like, and season 2 was still pretty bad. It picks up in season 3. And like the show ended up going on for like 7 seasons.
Right.
So my hope is that, you know, this season overall has been pretty solid. So I would really hope that we get a season 2 because it's been like good, but I don't know. That's the only thing that's given me solace, though, is that, like, the fact that season 1 and 2 were pretty bad of Clone Wars, and it
But
went
they were
on.
able to patch it up.
Yeah, and they were able to, for one, make another season, even though it was kinda bad. Like,
Right.
this has been pretty good, so I'm hoping they get a season 2 and can go further on with the story.
Yeah, it's
'Cause
definitely been better than season 1 of Clone Wars.
yeah,
So.
season 1 of Clone Wars it's a tough watch, dude. It's a tough watch, and I love, like, the way where Clone Wars ends, like, it's
Yeah,
fucking
yeah.
awesome. But nevertheless, we'll just have to see. But guys, whatever you thought about The Bad Batch, episode 13, wasn't trying to shit on it by any means because, like, it was very disappointing. The fact that we only have 3 left really bums me out because there's really just not much else they could do. There's all these cool stories that they're not going to be able to wrap up. So whatever you guys thought of it, let us know down in the comment section below. But other than that, that'll do it for today, guys. So Rick, where can everybody find you online, sir?
You can follow me over on Instagram at Sir Rick Metz.
There it is. And you can follow too, before we go, you can follow John just at Nightwing_K. That's Nightwing_K. I don't want to bring it, I can't really bring him up again because
On the Twitters and the Instagram.
yeah, the video will start playing. I'm gonna do this one up. It's not there. Nevertheless, Twitter and Instagram, Nightwing_K. Then you can follow me at Sir Rob Bifo on all social media platforms. And don't forget, you can submit topics and questions to the show by emailing us here at honestandUneducated@gmail.com. That's honestandUneducated@gmail.com. Every Wednesday, our collectible reviews go up online. The most recent one was a sort of preview build that I have here of my collection with like the new cases and everything. You can go check that out. And then the show also goes up on your podcast form. So you can go subscribe to Honest and Uneducated, the podcast, on any podcast platform of choice. And then come hang out with us every Friday when we do our live streams right here on YouTube. But that'll do it. That's all I got. So until next time, guys, like and subscribe, do all that sorts of fun stuff. But then take care.